Right, hello everyone. As a preamble, we are in fact in a chocolate crisis. That's actually the subject of this talk. This is the salted caramel tiger from the Wellington Chocolate Factory. It is a slab of very pure dark chocolate with bits of salt and caramel stuck into it. It is awesome. 11 years ago, I helped make this. I hope I didn't help make this actual bar. It is possible, but I haven't actually had one of these in over 5 years. So while you were all thinking about the drinks or whatever afterwards, I'm just hanging out for my little friend here. So what we're going to do, if it works for you, at the very end of the talk, we're going to do a little thing, and I'll tell you when it comes. And then when we do that thing, it will be like the signal that the talk is finished. And to celebrate the fact that the talk is finished, I am going to tear into this bad boy, hopefully with a kind of like a shower, like type thing, and we're all going to clap wildly at the thing we've made together. Does that work for you guys? Brilliant. I'm highly encouraged by this. Thank you. Right, so a little bit about me. I've had a strange career. I've been around tech startups, large programs including earthquake recovery. I was on the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Abuse and Care. I've built a lot of things, and then sometimes when I look back, genuinely it looks like I've somehow managed to just spend the last 20 years mostly dealing with crises of various kinds. And so what I'd like to do today, I'm kind of going on the assumption that if you're in this room, you are either an experienced leader or you aim to be an experienced leader. As such, you probably have some exposure to like management texts, leadership theory, all that type of stuff. I have no desire at all to patronize you or bore you by repeating any of that stuff. So what we're in here for today is a quite idiosyncratic, hopefully quite entertaining, but I think based in some reality journey through the idea that when things kind of compress and get highly stressful and the number of decisions you have to make as a leader starts to escalate and you reach that really clear point in your brain where you're like, we are fucked, this is a crisis, that there are in fact some pretty core ways you can find to get out of that. And so again, literally my goal with this talk, aside from the chocolate, is to give you something that you can't Google. If you can ask ChatGPT or Claude, why are we here? So, two things are going to combine. A discussion of crisis itself in its various forms, and then a really like foundational level, just like back to basics around storytelling. And this will be at a primal level that you may not have encountered before because we're not doing the kind of 5 beats or the hero's journey or anything like that. We're going really basic. And what I want to try and convey with this is that when you are in a genuine crisis of some kind, you have very little bandwidth. And what you need is an incredibly simple set of tools based around human storytelling that let you help navigate your team through it. That's my thesis today. There's going to be chocolate. There's going to be various other surprises. I hope to entertain you. Are you with me on this journey, my friends? Brilliant. Thank you. I feel like the applause has started already. It's great. Right, so as I said, we're going to start with story fundamentals, and this is a quite idiosyncratic but I think quite useful approach to saying what is story as it connects to being human. Talk a little bit about crises. We're then going to boil that down into a very straightforward little toolkit. Again, I dislike management literature. I don't like the 50-page guide to the thing that you're not going to read. This is like 6 things. And then beyond that, we're going to go for it. So, what we're not doing today, and this also comes up in the title of the talk, we're not lying. People very often confuse storytelling in a sort of business or management context with bullshitting people. I am going to argue that the exact opposite is what we're trying to do. This is not a talk about change management and going through the process of doing layoffs, which is a game industry thing. Again, there is a school of thought that says that when you are getting ready to do layoffs, you have to go through the kind of HR story processy thing. We're not doing that today at all. And connected to that again, not in any way hassling our actual PR friends, but this is not about the kind of external makeup that you put on to look good to the world. This is about how you lead a team of people through a difficult phase, which will ultimately come down to honest story creation together. So we're doing the good things, ignoring the bad things. Okay, by the way, it is not in any circumstance my intention to patronize you with an expert. This is how I think of story, and I've been doing this for about 25 years. If this seems too basic, I apologize, but people have found, I think, that they have not necessarily thought of story in this way. So, the first bit. Our brains are fundamentally wired for story on a level that is sometimes quite shocking. If you imagine us kind of maybe 200,000 years ago, on the plains, doing the day's hunt, hopefully coming back with some food, at the campfire, dancing to recreate the day's hunt, creating meaning from that. There are story rhythms that are literally carved so deeply into our brains that we cannot get them out. So this is ultimately the kind of core answer as to why story at all, because it literally is on a chemical level what it means to be human. I'm not going to go through what each of those drugs do, but basically a well-constructed story in sequence activates various little squirts of chemicals into our brain, and that's literally why we love story. And I always like to be reminded of this, because again, you get into things of, like, there will often be the temptation, especially in a management context, to go long, to provide information rather than story. Information is a very useful, wonderful thing. Humans are story-oriented to the core of our brains. Stories on the most foundational level, and this also goes back 200,000 years ago, stories are about focus. If you imagine the kind of raw reality of your sensory input, it's just like stuff coming in at you all the time. It's just overwhelming. Your brain, on a really basic level, selects a bunch of things and goes, I'm going to focus on that. And as we use stories, it's the same thing. There's so much information out there. Humans have a foundational desire to pick a few points of focus and to keep returning on that and to use that pattern as a ladder out of basically whatever we're doing. Again, I always keep coming back to this because very often in a situation, if it all feels like it's like this, it's part of your job as a storytelling leader to go, this is the thing we're focusing on. And you will be extremely impressed at how much humans desire this, and they'll do it. The second core part, and again, this comes back to the hunt, stories use contrast, and we forget this a lot. The story I tell myself around this, I imagine my ancestor, again, 200,000 years ago, stalking through the grass plains, finding things. You have to find the contrast between the grass that is safe and the tiger that is in the grass that is not so safe. You have to understand the difference between pain and pleasure, between heat and cold, between I can throw my spear at that thing and I should run away from that thing. What this translates to in the modern context, where we do not do anywhere near as much antelope hunting as we should, is dark, light, past, future, which is very important, especially in a lot of contexts, despair and triumph. We want contrast, and as a leader telling a story, you create a contrasting space. If people are bored with a story, whether real or imagined, very often it's that there's just not enough contrast going on. There aren't highs and lows. So then, so we've been doing, sort of in a business corporate context, we've been doing workshops for quite a while where we take leaders and we take them through this material. And we boiled it down to this incredibly simple and kind of wonky line model. And I don't think story has to be more complex than this. So ignoring the text, which I will read out, it's literally just we start somewhere, we go on sort of a roller coaster of ups and downs, and eventually, ideally, we get to where we're going. And if it lacks any of those elements, it's probably not a good story. Little more detail. Someone needs something. There is ideally a goal. That person goes on a journey in search of their goal. And that journey, by definition, is full of ups and downs, which create a great deal of interest. And then eventually they reach the goal or not. All things happen. But it's just remember that, ups and downs. And this is a vast simplification of thousands of years of human history, hundreds of years of people writing that story. Every screenwriting book you'll ever write, great. In a crisis, I find myself looking at this quite a bit. And the last bit of sort of foundational story levels that I like to remind myself, stories connect upwards. And both in kind of like a film and game sense, you know, there's a person their quest, their story, whatever they're doing, connects up to their team, their village, their society, some kind of mythic resonance. Most of the stories that stick with us do that connection really well. If you're in an organization, the most basic thing you do, and we've worked a lot with people on this, is you have to start with a sense of your own story, a sense of why you are here, what you are doing, what your purpose as a person is, and that has to be a genuine sense. Then you connect that to the people around you, your team. And then ideally, you connect it up to, and this is what our organization is doing, and then in a wonderful world, it kind of connects up further. But almost always, when we have worked with leaders and teams who are really struggling to understand their purpose, what they're trying to do, how they're trying to achieve it, one of those connections is missing. And this is why it's a really quite interesting and very idiosyncratic journey of self-discovery. Who are you? Where do you come from? What are you here for? And these are answers that no formula or textbook can give you. But once you find some level of that, you will start to find the ways that you can connect that to people around you, and that's when really interesting and powerful teams form. And so the last little bit, and this relates directly to us here in this room. So the wonky line of our story journey, in a modern context, if you are leading people, this must be interactive. I'm not sure the days ever existed, but they don't exist anymore, where the great leader gets up and gives the great speech and inspires everyone so much that they just do what they're supposed to do, and that's it. I would very strongly argue that modern leadership, especially in the games industry, but really in anything, is an interactive process where, yes, there is usually a leader, but you are sparking a collective journey. It's something that we're all building on. What is a game? But you start with a thing, and then everyone jumps in. Sorry? I'll be back in one sec. I managed to not destroy the AV system. What is a game but a story that we make together? What is a business? What is a team? It's all this thing. So the other last little bit is, amongst all the story structures we're going to talk about, interactive. You as the leader, you put something into the world. People jump in and join it, they alter it, they change it. Again, it all sounds a hell of a lot like starting with a prototype and building a game, because it does. And this is from my friend Robin Hall, who I went to school with a very long time ago now, and moved to the States, and he is the Director of Development at the Legacy Youth Leadership. It's very simple, but whether you like it or not, you are already part of a story. Leadership is about being intentional with the one you're telling. And this is a guy, I mean, he's a dear friend, and he literally spends his life helping young people connect with some kind of story that means something for them, and then connecting that to a team. Now, at this point, I'm going to have a drink, and then we're going to begin the interesting part. I think we have enough people in this room to do this and make this interesting. I would like to try something. It could go very wrong, at which point we'll all be entertained, but it could go right, at which point it'll work. Are you up for something? It's pretty basic. I'm seeing nods. Right, okay. This is a green-spotted giraffe. For no real reason yet, I'm going to gently throw this among you. I would love someone to catch it. And then what I would like to try, and this could go hilariously off the rails, in which case we get a laugh. Every time we change a slide, I would like you to sort of just throw it nearby. We are about to have a little symphony of the green giraffe bouncing among us. If this goes haywire, if it ends up in the front, if it goes badly wrong, we don't do it. But are you guys up for this? Right, green giraffe time. Great catch, thank you very much. Right, and we'll do our first trial because we're going to change our first slide. And if you kind of gently throw it somewhere in the vicinity of the audience, if someone catches it, we repeat. Cool. Okay, slide is changing. Love it. That actually looks really cool. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. So, crisis, what are we talking about? The obvious kind of crisis. This is from the Christchurch earthquakes. I was down there, I helped with the recovery. The obvious big kind of crisis is, there's a volcano, there's an earthquake, whatever. These are extremely meaningful because if you go through them with people, you do learn a great deal about how teams function under crisis and what those stories are. For more eye candy around, yes, nice, thank you. For more eye candy around that, things are going horribly wrong, as you do. And I think we can all sort of think of that type of thing, everyone thinks of that as crisis. Hopefully, as leaders especially, most of us will not directly deal with that too many times in our lifetime. However, almost everyone in this room is making stuff in some form. Love it. Thank you. It looks so cool. I don't know how it's going to look in the video, but I think brilliant is really what it's going to do. Does anyone know what this is? Brilliant. Thank you very much. Jaws itself, the story is a crisis, but as you may know, the filming of Jaws is a legendary crisis. Literally everything went wrong for months and months and months. The shark, very famously, right there, did not work. Steven Spielberg kept on being basically driven to the brink of madness. He nearly got fired. They were trying to shoot out on the water, which is a nightmare under any circumstances. So as a creative project, Jaws in itself was just non-stop things going wrong, and somehow they made Jaws. Now, here is, right. I would like you to imagine that this is a fearsome mechanical shark. It is the best that I could do on relatively short notice. And now I'd like to add a second element to our little symphony. Love it. So brilliant, same rules apply. We're going to, excellent. Something perhaps a little closer to our time. Love it, thank you very much. Not as many people know that Kung Fu Panda, which is one of the most successful and beloved animated films of all time, was also a giant disaster. There was a great talk about 10 years ago now where John Stevenson, who was actually one of the original Muppeteers, so I think he used to do Fozzie. He got called in halfway through the production of Kung Fu Panda because it had fallen apart so badly that it needed complete rescue, so they basically did a total reboot. And he did a really interesting talk that I paid a lot of attention to as to he came into a situation of crisis, he had zero trust because no one knew him, and he had to very rapidly not only sort of say the right things, but he had to create a situation where everyone was on board and actually moving forward. It's a very interesting thing that he did. Love it. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys. It's not going to be too much, but it's going to be fun. I appreciate it. Also a crisis. This is the aforementioned Wellington Chocolate Factory. I worked there. I helped build it. Great fun, but any new business, any new venture that we go on is a series of barely averted disasters and decisions that you have to make when you don't have enough information. And this is game development. And I think from the description so far, we can imagine that on the one hand, this is a bunch of smiling people. And on the other hand, that photo might have not as many people in it 6 months from now, 12 months from now, and the various things. So in our industry, by definition, because we are generally so uncertain and so driven and so creative, we are constantly navigating these areas where things are going wrong. And for a little... Thank you. And probably about 6 weeks ago, for some reason, I'd been up very late doing something. Things were falling apart. A bunch of stuff had fallen over. I dared to take a selfie of me giving the 1,000-mile death stare into the thing. Crises always come down to being personal as well. Where, it is very hard as a leader to go through one of those things with a team and not be sweating the 3 a.m.s. I think everyone's probably been there in some form. And on that note, thank you. Crises tends to be additive. And this is almost a function of a crisis, because if you're in reasonable shape as a team, one unexpected thing happens, okay, we can deal with it. But what you'll very often find is it's not the first thing or the second thing, it's the 5th thing and the 6th thing and the 20th thing that really goes beyond the boundaries of what you thought you could do. And tying it back to story, perhaps the defining feature I really appreciate it, because it's about to get even more complicated, so thank you. This is Missy, the misinformation monster. And crises, by their nature, again, when things go wrong, by themselves, they are story-generating machines, by which I mean that you have your version of what's going on, and all of a sudden, everybody else starts to have a slightly different version, and the Chinese whispers go wild, and it gets ahead of you very quickly. One of the most interesting features down in Christchurch was that things would happen and gain traction and gain media coverage and gain protests within a day. That did not happen. And this happened over and over again. So, for our last little bit, and we are sort of getting towards the point here, this is the final one. This is Missy the misinformation monster, dressed up as a very happy whale. Again, we work with what we can. I promise you that the symphony of destruction will not get too insane. This is us. Thank you. So, in that sense of crisis and tying it back to story, we're going to start with some principles and we're going to go into our toolkit, and we are very much on our way. Thank you. Oh, it's looking really cool, guys, honestly. Super cool. So a story principle that also applies to crises: stasis is death. If you are sitting there doing nothing and things are going wrong, this is a problem. And even to sort of add to the point, stasis is death. Nice. Love it. I was kind of gently waiting. It's like, thank you very much. Stasis is death. Really, passivity is deathier, if that is a word, and it is now. Heroes and villains of stories, and you are a hero in your own story, are active. They cause and struggle. So again, if we're talking about core principles, if something is not happening, we ask ourselves, am I just sitting here in stasis passively? And beyond that, love it, thank you. Observance is not a story. And this is a tendency that some of us had sometimes, because one of the things you get rewarded for early on in your kind of leadership and management journey is you get rewarded for smartly observing things. And that's really cool. But if you wait for permission, and if you wait for Missy the misinformation monster, that's not good. So the core thing there is, the first thing we do in a crisis is we move. And this doesn't count, you don't have to throw. I'm just going back to... and this is from someone that some of us know and love. Nice. See, it's what I thought. It's getting a little more savage and weird, which I very much appreciate. One of our friends, Rick Stem from PickPock, when teams own their own story, when they actively participate in shaping it, that's when the magic happens. And I think that's, again, the ties between creative development and working in a crisis are virtually invisible. No need to throw on this one. This is just the section. Those are some pretty kind of abstract concepts. I want to put them right down into when things are going extremely wrong. Let's have literally a checklist, because when things are going very wrong and everything's basically collapsing around you, you do not have time for the giant rule book. So, the first thing, love it. So the first thing we do as a leader is we reassert reality. And this is quite an active thing. So your team, especially if they have been running around with Missy the misinformation monster, your team will be spread out in terms of what they think is going on. And you will be astonished at how differing and often wrong those different realities are. And you will have personality types. Some people, if they feel that they don't know what's going on, they tend to spiral. Some people, if they feel they don't know what's going on, they make something up. And some people think that they know exactly what's going on and they're completely right and they're just going to run with it. So the first thing we do as leaders is we reassert the story. Right now, we are all in a room together at an excellent game conference. We are listening to probably the best talk of the entire conference. And as an exercise to keep it fun and to kind of make a point, we are throwing some soft toys around, some of whom have clear identity problems, but that's fine. That is where we are right now. This is really important. You need to, as part of reasserting reality, you need to reaffirm what are we here for, where are we going? And the big goal, so the obvious thing, of course, in a game is we are here to ship this game. But of course, it might be, we are here to get to June alive. There is a big goal, and again, there will be significant disagreement on this goal until you as the leader assert it. That is the core of your story. Stories have a goal in this framing. Our big goal in this talk today is for our 3 lost and wandering beautiful creatures to find their way home. And that is where we are going, and we are going to get there by the end of this talk. And in amongst that, thank you, appreciate it. So we have our big goal. So everyone knows we are making this game. We are saving this thing. We are building this. There is also what is the next step, and this is the core of the crisis management. Most people really want to know, what do I do next? There are so many signals. There's all these very random soft toys floating around. What's my next step? And you as a leader define that. This is our goal, this is our step, keep on doing that. So the next step is that I would like the wonderful person holding the green soft toy, if they could throw the soft toy sort of around this area, possibly towards Paul Fox, because he has a big head. And if you could do that, thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. Greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. And again, lovely. This is the thing that is often really challenging because our corporate training, if we have it, tends us very strongly towards crisis management equals let's basically lie to people. Make a strong, clear, and genuine commitment to straightforwardness. One of the most interesting things I learned from John Stevenson when he was talking about this with Kung Fu Panda, they'd been through years of essentially pre-production hell. And they'd had multiple kind of senior managers come through. Everyone had a new kind of version of bullshit. Zero trust. And John Stevenson, in his telling, sat them down and he just said, I'm going to be very straightforward with you and I'm not going to lie to you. Your responsibility is to accept what I tell you. Like if I say the whole pipeline for this character is broken, you then can't throw your toys. It's that kind of deal. I'm going to be straightforward with you. I'm going to trust you. And your responsibility as an adult working with me is you're going to take it on board and we can discuss it. But the rule around here is we are straightforward and aiming for truth. And this is part of reasserting reality. Once we start to steer back towards truth, it's surprising how many problems just kind of go, oh, well, this is the thing that we can just look at. And now we can analyze it, we can solve it, versus the actual problem surrounded by a giant cloud of the things we're not saying and the stuff we're talking about. So one of our core things is we commit to truth. And again, don't be that person who commits to truth and then immediately stops, is just right back to telling lies. This is core integrity of being a leader. And it's something that we don't talk about often enough, but really having the bravery to say it's going to be on the table helps a great deal. And then once that's happened, once we've kind of laid the groundwork of what we're going to do, and we're in this kind of step-by-step rhythm of next step, here is where we are, you're into the rhythm and flow of a story. And this is right back to what I was talking about earlier, ups and downs. Even as you start to manage the crises, it's still a roller coaster. And one of the core things to say is, this is normal. When we are making Jaws, when we are making Kung Fu Panda, when we are trying to steer an earthquake recovery, when we are trying to do whatever, it is absolutely inevitable that even with the best management, we are going to have days when it feels like disaster, we're going to have days when it feels like awesome triumph, and both of those are okay as long as we remember to put them in context. And this is that thing of once you have people's trust and you've earned it, and you say, we are on a story journey together, we are literally creating the story together. By definition, a story is about ups and downs and going through them. So your rhythm and flow of a story becomes really important. And for those of you who are slightly more technical on this stuff, the kind of ongoing interactive loop, which is an OODA thing, which is at its core, it's a military thing. But you're constantly re-scanning your environment, figuring out what you want to do, and then doing it. Just a very simple little rhythm. Are we continually making decisions? Are we continually seeing where we're going? And as part of that, and this is something that is useful, and it goes back to the passivity thing, ask things of your people, This is a really, really strong thing that good leaders do and nice leaders tend to avoid because they feel bad. Set clear expectations. So, for instance, specifically, my friend Paul Fox, who seems to have kidnapped a small soft toy there, shocking Paul, I would like you to be entrusted with getting that toy to the very far corner of the room in whatever fashion seems best to you. But I would like you to do this for me. Can you do that?
To a person or to the corner?
Sorry, to the person, and it's great clarification. Thank you very much. Thank you. And as Paul undoubtedly knows, there is a glowing sense of I am part of the story that comes from that, from asking. This is the interactive thing. You're asking players to do things in games. You don't ask the player, hey, please sit there for a while, we will do all the work. There is an active element of, we are part of the story. I need this from you, I need this from you, I need this from you. Look at where we're going together, this is great. And as in any decent game as well, having gotten down into this thing of, oh, it's great, day by day, we know what we're doing, we're setting the next task, everyone's on board, we still keep going back to, and basically, what is the map? Where are we going? We are on our way and actually very close to the end of our journey where we are going to send 3 beautiful soft toys home. We are doing very well together. We are nearly there. Repeat, overcome. This is the loop, this is the story that you make. By the way, if you're taking photos, and I very much appreciate that you are, this is the full list. So if you want like one photo, this is probably the one to take. I should have pointed that out earlier, sorry. So, as we have put this into action together, and again, by the way, I thought a lot of this during this talk. This has intentionally been kind of abstract in that sense of, I didn't want to be like, here is a case study of how we solve this thing. I think you can find that in both the management literature and kind of essentially by searching, but a broader framework that ties together the story and the crisis side of things. So, a reminder, we set up and we share the fundamental rhythm of a story. We have a goal, we are going towards that goal. Everyone's not sure whether they're throwing stuff, it's really cool. And we fundamentally accept that there are ups and downs, but if as a group we understand that that is the rhythm of pretty much any human story, that's fine. We always interact. If we are not interacting somehow as a team, as a leader with our team, something is probably going wrong. You can make a reasonably good argument, not entirely, that the cadence of interaction in a team basically determines its effectiveness. Again, without going too military, if you look at special forces teams, when they're in the field, the level and the frequency of communication and decision making is absolutely incredible. Because you've got 5, 10, 15 people who are locked in, constantly doing exactly what we're talking about. And I don't love military metaphors for things that are not military, but it's really interesting to see. So, and this is the second to last slide in the main talk and the third to last before the thing. Nice, yes. Oh, the energy is going. Now, having defeated Missy the misinformation monster, having sent these wonderful toys off on their journeys, their literal up and down journeys, by the way. How's that for a metaphor? We are nearly there. And what I would like us to do, on my signal, and it's going to be a really obvious signal because I talked about it, on my signal, I would like you, if you are currently holding a soft toy, I would like you to stand up and hurl that soft toy as hard as you can towards me. If we destroy the electronics, I apologize to our friends. I seriously doubt that they are soft toys. But a signal is coming. Are we ready? Yeah. We are ready. Okay, so the whole goal of what we have done today, we have constructed a story together. My personal part of the story was that I wanted to have some chocolate, and I did a very roundabout method of getting there by going to GDC and doing a talk. We have sent out our young people in our team, our young soft toys, on their adventures. And then at the very end, it all comes back together. And not only does Colin get to have the long desired bit of chocolate, we send ourselves, our teams, the people we're with, we send them home. Yeah! Oh, that is good. Thank you very much. If you're keen, please always say hi. It's always very welcome. We are embarking on a game project. If you would like to join our Discord, tinyhaunted.bookshop.com, and the QR code takes you to a bunch of stuff. But thank you so much for your time. This was a mad experiment. I actually really enjoyed it. The symphony of the soft toys was beautiful. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.